Hey there, I, Sam Valentino, private toon detective, want to talk about something I noticed on MeTV Toons. Surely you've heard how starting this week, MeTV Toons has begun rerunning the Super Mario Bros. Super Show from 1989. Likely as a tie-in to Illumination's The Super Mario Galaxy movie being released this week. Indeed, it's the first time it's ever aired on actual television in decades. But it's not perfect. They aren't rerunning the episodes featuring Legend of Zelda segments. The licensed songs they performed are cut. The prints they used still tried to erase Deke from animation history, even though they kept the 1989 Viacom logo. And worst of all is the way WildBrain remastered the show using AI. Of course, like virtually all of Deke's North American shows, it was edited on videotape, with an analog telecine of the animation film elements. Of course, the live-action segments were shot on analog videotape. But this is during a time when most TV cartoons are still animated using hand-painted cells and photographed on the usually 35mm film, or several shows animated in Japan using 16mm film. But the Super Mario Bros. Super Show appears to be 35mm, having been animated in Korea, but very cheaply. Of course, if you're going to do a high-definition remaster of a cartoon to use cell animation, it's best to use the original camera negatives or something and digitally scan those, then do the necessary cleaning up. Disney and Warner Brothers have done this for several of their older cel-animated shows, including the Hanna-Barbera ones when it comes to the latter. But in some cases, locating such film elements can be very difficult or even impossible, especially if a studio were to be careless with them, like maybe Deke, the non-do-it-cheap studio. From what I heard, Deke would generally go and throw away their original animation film elements, those high binders. What WildBrain likely did was just take the existing digitized masters, likely copied some old videotape format a few decades ago, and tried to upscale and remaster them using AI techniques to make it look more presentable in today's high-definition world. Of course, entrusting AI to that process is not a great idea. We've got several instances of dropped details and unnatural blurring. And it's especially noticeable in long shots where characters are drawn in miniature. And the live action segments also have some kind of unnatural look to them. Even the opening sequence looks a little too blurred in some shots, since much of it was edited on video to allow Chroma Key, Captain Lou Albano, and Danny Wells into it. And even the on-screen logo text looks all messed up in the AI upscaling job. The Super Mario Bros. Super Show. But in several other cases, it's honestly not too bad, but it could have been done better anyways. They remind me of some similar AI upscale and remaster jobs I've seen done to some older public domain cartoons. Not a pretty good impression for a WildBrain to leave. Of course, when it comes to upscaling standard definition cartoons, I've seen Warner Brothers do this with some of Hanna-Barbera's product animated on the computer system the studio used in the 80s. Yep, you heard me right. Hanna-Barbera was one of the first American animation studios to use digital coloring and compositing, even well before Disney began doing so for the animated movies. Like the recent HD remaster of a pup named Scooby-Doo that's streamed on Tubi and HBO Max and also sporadically airs on MeTV Toons. The cel-animated episodes in the second and third seasons were largely digitally scanned from the original animation negatives. But the first season that was digitally colored and the episodes upscaled, since the computer system only output the 480p analog videotape. But when doing this, it also manually applies some color correction and noise reduction to the episodes. And while they're certainly not perfect, they look a lot better than they do on Boomerang or on DVD. This leads me to believe we may soon get a Warner Archive Blu-ray release of a pup named Scooby-Doo somewhere down the line. Also, in the two digitally colored Hanna-Barbera Superstars 10 TV movies, Yogi, the Invasion of the Space Bears, and Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf got remastered and released on Blu-ray a couple years back through Warner Archive. They had similar upscaling jobs done, albeit a bit less impressive than the Pup Named Scooby-Doo remaster. As such, they both feature a disclaimer on their packaging and before the movie begins, explaining the early form of digital ink and paint use and how they're upconverted from the original analog standard definition videotape masters, with such efforts to improve the look, i.e. noise reduction and color correction, as I seriously doubt the original digital animation files exist anymore, in addition to the computer system already being a dinosaur by 1994, at which time it was set up at Wang Film Productions in Taiwan. It looks so bad on Hanna-Barbera's Arabian Nights TV movie that year that Zach Wolf did a YouTube poop of. I know a few other animation companies use very similar computer systems from the same developers. Even Acom Productions of Korea used one on the early episodes of Arthur they animated in 1996. PBS has also upscaled those episodes, albeit without any restoration attempts, and they do look a little blurry, but not as messy as the Super Mario Bros. Super Show upscale. And regarding Deke apparently throwing away the original film elements, apparently some of them slipped through the cracks. Someone acquired the original 35mm camera negatives for Captain N and the Game Masters episode The Big Game. And the original Inspector Gadget episode The Haunted Castle was also remastered from the original negatives for one of those online interactive game-episodes. And it sure looks impressive. But there you have it, the Super Mario Bros. Super Show airing on regular television again for the first time in nearly 32 years, albeit in a somewhat messy AI upscale version. Honestly, even the original low-quality SD video masters would still look perfectly acceptable to air on MeTV Toons. The way the channel has also aired a few such shows like Inspector Gadget and The Real Ghostbusters and some other assorted 80s and 90s cartoons that still only exist in unrestored standard definition videotape formats of some kind. But I hope you found this informative. Again, I also want to apologize for that April Fool's Day joke yesterday Zach Wolf did. And rest assured, he and I will not be using generative AI for such things on social media or wherever again. Also, tomorrow and Saturday, I will be at Anime Boston 2026, snooping around and maybe find another mystery. But even if you don't see me there, keep watching this YouTube channel to see what else I may find out.